For those of you that don't know me, my name is Krista Stedman. In my professional life, I am a captain with Austin Travis County EMS, and I serve as our public information officer. But for most of my adult life, I have also been JJ's best friend, her co-conspirator, and one of the few people that she lets see behind the curtain, which also apparently means that I'm the one responsible for Mr. Memorial and eulogizing a woman who would have absolutely heckled this entire event from the back row. JJ was a force, one that you got swept up in, and if you were lucky enough to be part of her inner circle, you got smacked in the face with all of her. The loyalty, the wit, the pranks, the teasing, and the love. On behalf of myself and JJ's family, both blood and public safety, thank you everyone for being here to celebrate her. For the record though, she mostly would have hated this. Not the love, she knew that she was loved. Definitely not the attention, because if you know Jay, and if you know me, we definitely thrive on that part. But the formality, the quiet, the gathering and mourning, I think she's probably sitting in the back row with a bag of snacks and maybe a White Claw, muttering snarky comments under her breath. So, we're gonna do this in the most Jay way possible, which means it's gonna be fairly non-traditional. That said, through Jay's career in public service, it played a big part of her life, and it was incredibly important to her. We all know that public safety funerals automatically come with some formalities and some pomp and circumstance, so we're gonna get most of the formal parts out of the way first, and then we'll hear some funny stories, laugh together, and celebrate the woman that we all knew and loved. But speaking of non-traditional, yes, that is a Le Creuset Dutch oven, front and center. And that is going to be Jay's urn. If you knew her well, this should come as no surprise. She was incredibly close to my family, and when my mom died, we used a Texas stoneware crock pot as her urn, and Jay thought that was hilarious and brilliant, so it seems really fitting. She would have wanted something just as absurd, just as classy, and she was very proud of that Le Creuset. It's heavy duty and it's iconic, just like she was, and it's perfectly Jay. So Jay Leith Carabar was born on January 14th, 1983 in Chicago. Many of you knew JJ as a communications captain, a natural leader with an innate ability to bring calm into chaos. But she was also a daughter to Lois Nelson and the late Arthur Barr, a sister to Kevin and Woody, who she lost in 2010, and Heather. She was a partner, a friend to many, but most importantly, she was a mother. JJ moved to Austin in 2006 and married John Eaton later that year. On October 7th, 2007, they welcomed a beautiful baby girl into their lives that they named Peyton Lynn Eaton. Being Peyton's mom was Jay's dream come true, but as most of you know, that dream quickly turned to tragedy when Peyton died on October 20th at just 13 days old. Losing Peyton shaped the rest of Jay's life more profoundly than anything else she would ever experience, but she carried Peyton's memory with her every day of her life and would later turn grief into action. JJ dedicated her life to public service. She began her career with Austin Travis County EMS on March 3rd, 2008 as a communications medic. Her talent, leadership, and commitment earned her promotions to clinical specialist in 2010 and captain in communications in 2013. She also served as an aviations communications specialist for Travis County Starflight, coordinating aeromedical response, emergency communications, and logistical support. Captain Barr served the Austin and Travis County communities with honor for over 17 years. Now, shortly after starting her career at Austin Travis County EMS, JJ and John together turned their shared tragedy into purpose. They founded the Peyton Lynn Program, which was a nonprofit organization providing safe sleep education and free pack and plays to families in need. Their work was recognized statewide, earning them honors as EMTs of the Year by the 100 Club of Central Texas in 2010 and by Dell Children's Medical Center as their champions of safety in 2011. What Jay went through could have broken her, but instead she chose to make it matter, not just for herself, but for others. And that was her, turning pain into purpose and purpose into action. Jay loved a lot of things fiercely: her friends, her family, her work, and Harry Potter. Jay and I had a lot of things in common, but Harry Potter, not one of those things. That resulted in fairly frequent confusion on my part because I did not understand many of the references that she made, and I spent about 15 years referred to on a regular basis, rather condescendingly at times, as a muggle. I don't know what that means, so I think that was part of the joke for her. Mostly she just shook her head at me like I somehow failed a basic entrance exam to her version of Hogwarts. But she could quote the books, break down the storylines, and debate wand lore like it was a union contract. It was her version of magic, and in some ways I think she believed in that world more than this one. Or maybe she just wished more people walked around with wands and butterbeer. Jay's impact reached far beyond her friendships and relationships. Her legacy as a communications professional and a leader at Austin Travis County EMS helped shape countless careers. She was a trainer, a mentor, and everyone's favorite colleague. Now, to speak to the side of her service and character, I would like to welcome to the podium Austin Travis County EMS Chief Robert Lukritz.
For so many of us, as we come here today, we grieve the loss of JJ. We have so many memories of her, and it is so easy for us to stand here and mourn. But the most important thing that we can do in JJ's honor is to celebrate the joy that she brought to so many people's lives. Across her many years of service with Austin Travis County EMS, she impacted so many individuals. From her time starting as a communication medic, answering the phone, helping save lives, giving directions, CPR instructions, and other things over the telephone, and truly impacting the residents and visitors of Austin and Travis County. To a few years later, when she was promoted to captain, and she impacted the lives of so many new Austin Travis County EMS medics and clinical specialists, and quite frankly, leaders in the organization. Because what she did was not just educate those that were new to the department, but she brought new insight to leaders across the organization and taught us so many things about how we could be better individuals and how we could be a better department and how we could be better leaders. I joined this organization only recently. I did not know JJ in the way that so many of you did, for so many years that you did. But in the brief time that I got to know JJ, I realized that she was a special person. In the years leading up to her promotions and leading up to today, she was out there each and every day, providing us with lessons on how to be a wonderful human being. She was smart, she was quick-witted, and she had the ability to make folks laugh at even the most untoward moments. She was always a commensurate professional. We realized the great tragedy that JJ and her family faced back in 2007. But a year later, as she joined us here at Austin Travis County EMS, she took that energy, she took that loss, that grieving that she was going through, and she spun it into something positive. She truly did what so many of us could only hope one day, to have the courage and the strength and the ability to take that loss and change the lives of so many individuals. We can stand here, we can talk about the numerous individuals that she trained as the captain and the numerous Austin Travis County EMS individuals, partners, coworkers, colleagues in our police department, colleagues in the fire department, and the impact she had on them. But when I think back and I look at what I've learned about JJ and the great work that she did, I think the true thing that resonates most with me and resonates most with the department is the work she did in light of that tragedy. Her efforts to found the Peyton Lynn program and the thousands of individuals that she had an impact on. I had stood up here before and I was thinking about reading off some statistics, but it's not about statistics. It's not about the number of people that she trained. It's not about the number of lives that she impacted. She was part of a movement to fundamentally change the way that we approach safe babies in our community. And she trained so many individuals and educated so many folks on how to be able to safely care for their children. And that work that she did was evidenced in the great recognition that she got through her recognition through the 100 Club as the EMT of the Year, through Dell Children's as a champion of safety, and so many other places that she was recognized. JJ's dedication was inspiring. Her ability to lead, to laugh, unparalleled. Today, we say not just goodbye to a colleague or a communications captain. We say goodbye to a friend. We say goodbye to a servant. We say goodbye to a leader that for so many of us humbled us all in her ability to rise above whatever she faced. No matter what came her way, she continued to strive to be a better person, to lead all of us, to sacrifice, and to bring comfort to so many. JJ, your shift may be over. Rest easy, for you made a difference, and know that from this point forward, we honor your life, we honor your service, we will not forget you, and we will continue on your mission. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Now I would like to introduce one of JJ's colleagues, Communications Clinical Specialist Lindsay Rutledge. She'll be reading a poem that I think will resonate certainly with the life and career that JJ led, and also a number of you here. So, Lindsay.
Who am I? I am the voice that calms the mother, breathing life into her infant son. I am the invisible hand that holds and comforts the elderly man who woke up and found his wife of 50 years had passed during the night. I am the friend who talks the disgruntled teenager out of ending their own life. I sent help when you had your first car accident. I am the one who tries to obtain the information from callers to ensure that the scene is safe for those I dispatched calls, all the while anticipating the worst and hoping for the best. I'm the psychologist who readily adapts my language and tone of voice to serve the needs of my callers with compassion and understanding. I'm the ears that listen to the needs of all those I serve. I have heard the screams of faceless people I will never meet nor forget. I've cried at the atrocities of mankind and rejoiced at the miracle of life. I was there, heard but not seen by my peers in the field during the most trying emergencies. I have tried to visualize the scene to coincide with the voices I have heard. I'm usually not privy to the outcome of the call, and so I wonder. I'm the one who works weekends, strange shifts, and holidays. Children do not say they want my job when they grow up. Yet I am this role by choice. Those I help do not call back to say thank you. Still, they're in the comfort of the challenge. Still, there is comfort in the challenge, integrity, and purpose in my career. I am thankful to provide such a meaningful service. I am a mother, a father, a sister, a brother, a son, daughter, or a friend. I am here when you need me and still here when you don't. My office is never empty and the work here is never done. I am always on call. The training is strenuous, demanding, and endless. No 2 days at work are ever the same. Who am I? I am an Austin Travis County EMS emergency dispatcher, and I am proud.
Thank you, Lindsay. So I think about segues as like moving sidewalks or escalators, which probably would have ticked off Jay because she was petrified of escalators and moving sidewalks. If you ever went to a mall or an airport with her, you knew that you pretty much had to hold her hand and count to 3 for her to jump off the end of it because she just couldn't. So we've heard some about JJ's professional life, and now it's time to hear from the people that knew her best, her family, her friends, and her colleagues. So first, I would like to introduce her mom, Lois Nelson, up to share a few words.
Thank you, Krista. Life with Jay started a little bit earlier than that. When she was 3 years old, I met her sister, Heather. She was playing in a mud puddle at the end of my driveway, and I was really nursing a very bad hangover, but I ended up meeting her father, and later marrying her father and having 3 children. To understand Jay, even as a small child, my children all approached life differently. My middle child has the glass that was always half empty. Love you, Kev. My youngest son, Woody, he was just thrilled to death to have a glass. JJ was always taking her glass and running around and pouring it out to everybody else's to make sure that theirs was full. But that's who the essence of what she was, or according to Pastor, who she really still is. I know Jay was constantly telling me about life here in EMS. She loved even her training in 911. She loved her EMT training back in Joliet. But the stories that she would tell were always just so incredible, and they were the essence of who I always felt that she really, really, truly was inside. And in everything from on her honeymoon jumping out in her I'm so pretty garb in the middle of the interstate in Wisconsin to triage an accident that happened in a snowstorm before EMS got there. And she's doing the thing, and John, you're going and taking care of business. Whether it was that or she was so excited, she'd call me when she delivered a baby over the phone. And then a few of you probably know there is a story about Harriet. I won't go into detail, but there's a senior citizen, Harriet, in an RV with her senior lover who didn't make it, and JJ's on the phone with Harriet trying to bring the man back. And it's my understanding she did successfully do that, but EMS was so much a piece of who JJ was, and from her Illinois family, I really, truly have to love and cherish all of her Austin Travis EMS family, and thank you all so much for being a part of JJ's life.
Thanks, Mom. So we're gonna pivot a little bit because now we're gonna hear from some colleagues who are also very close friends of JJ. And I have to warn you, this is the part where it's gonna get a little silly because JJ was silly, and we wanna honor that and celebrate that. So we have a couple of very fun stories that we're gonna share, and we'll start with Ariel Jewell.
Just getting started. It's not. Good afternoon, everyone. I asked to tell this story about JJ, but I'm starting to regret that decision. Possibly all of my life decisions. Those of you that know me well know that I'm loud and animated in small groups, but speaking in front of a large crowd is utterly terrifying. I would have winged this, but in order to keep the squirrels in my brain on topic, I had to write this down. For those of you in the same 40-plus age group as me, it is typed in very large font. I lost my glasses somewhere in the building. For those of you that do not know me, my name is Ariel Jewell. I will be starting my 20th year with ATC in 2 short weeks. Prior to working here, I worked at the EMS agency formerly known as MetroCare, and that is where I first met JJ. There are some people at both agencies that would claim that I am a shit magnet. Grant, Josh, James, Aaron, Teeman, and Wedge, I have in my hand indisputable proof that I am simply a sponge for other people's black cloudness. I know this rubber chicken thing looks innocent, but it's in JJ's hands, it was a weapon of mass destruction. At the time JJ came to work with us at MetroCare, I was a newly minted field training officer, and JJ was my first cadet. Talk about trial by fire. By the way, Peter, wherever you're at, I'm still mad at you. I'll never forget my first shift with JJ. After our introduction, she promptly informed me that she was a shit magnet. I laughed and told her, we're on a transfer truck today, so the only excitement we are going to have is deciding where we go for lunch and hoping that dispatch gives us the good posting site. Boy, was I wrong. One of our first calls was to pick up an elderly gentleman at a local hospital and take him back to his nursing home in Llano. I was excited because I was going to take her to Cooper's in Llano so she could experience Texas barbecue. We go fetch our patient, and we're bebopping down 71 when we get to Bee Creek and see a bunch of cars pulled off the road and a crowd of people in a ditch. Naturally, we can't just drive by, so I pull off the shoulder, and that's when I see the problem. A motorcycle crash out in the ditch. I'll spare you muggles from the gory details, but the girl was pretty messed up. After we got her packaged up and sent her on her way with Starflight, we got back into the truck to resume our drive to Llano. I turned to JJ, and with a mischievous grin and a shrug of her shoulders, she said, I warned you. The worst part was Cooper's was closed that day, and I never got to show her what Texas barbecue really was. After she cleared to independent duty, she moved over to our dispatch center, where she remained for about 2 years until getting hired at ATC. Now, once she had gotten comfortable with all of us at MetroCare, prankster JJ started to emerge. I don't know exactly how it got started. Many years of sleep deprivation prevents me from finding that particular detail in my memory bank, but she would bring a yellow rubber chicken dog toy to work with her. She fondly referred to it as the trauma chicken. When she and the other dispatchers were bored, she would chuck it across the room. Often, and within minutes, there would be a gnarly trauma call drop in Bastrop County. That poor innocent chicken had no idea what nefarious purposes it was destined for. I'm pretty sure if Harry Potter had been a thing back then, she would have accompanied the chucking of the chicken with a spell Hermione would have approved of. Now, this fun little party trick didn't work for just anyone, because believe me, we all tried. We also tried to abscond with it on numerous occasions to hide it from her. She chased me across dispatch one night and tackled me in the doorway to retrieve her beloved chicken. I still have PTSD from that. I was recently informed that Chris Stolick was finally able to imprison it and leave it to rot in an undisclosed location, although I'm pretty sure she had a stockpile of them. JJ, you were a hoot. We will all miss your crazy sense of humor and arguing with you about pizza and the Bears. Rest easy, sister. We'll take it from here. Sorry, there's lights in the way. Oh. There we go.
I warned you guys. So next we have Angela Voorhees, who is a communications commander with Austin Travis County EMS, and I know without question that you were her favorite. She treasured you and loved you, and I know that we all had some real ridiculous times together. So I would like to invite Angela up to share some stories.
Thank you, Ariel. You're going to be a tough act to follow. I'm Ange. I've known JJ for 17 years. We started out as me being a captain, to her being my co-captain, captains on shift together, to me being a commander. And my favorite saying of JJ's is, absolutely not. No matter what she was talking about, she could have been on the phone with her mom and she would come back and say, Lois, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And my story isn't quite as funny as JJ's, but it speaks, or as Ariel's, but it speaks of JJ's compassion and empathy and ability to love. A lot of you know that I had a very serious surgery back in 2017. It was a surgery that could have left me paralyzed from the waist down. Instead, it left me with complex regional pain syndrome in my right leg and foot. I had 8 subsequent surgeries to help try to mitigate the pain that I felt, but none of them worked. And I would sit at my desk and try to hide from everybody while I was on shift on those hard days where my pain would be so overwhelming that I literally would think, if I hit myself in my left foot with a hammer, it'll distract from the pain I have in my right foot. Well, I was having a really bad day, to the point that I had walked off the operations floor and walked into our break room because I had started crying. Well, JJ walked in and she's like, what's wrong? And I said, I'm sorry. I said, I'm in a lot of pain today. And I explained what was going on. And she looked at me and she said, absolutely not. That's not acceptable. That's not an acceptable way to have to live your life. She goes, I'm going to refer you to my doctor. My doctor is my friend. And if she can't take the pain away, she'll at least help you find somebody or something that can. So I had tried multiple doctors at this point, and I'm like, okay, whatever, what's the most that can happen? Nothing. So I went to see my now doctor, who's still a really good friend to JJ and a lot of us here. And she was able to help take the pain away to a point that it's livable and that I'm no longer having to sit at the back of the room trying to take 911 calls or sit at the comm command desk and look over the whole system and make sure everybody has what they have. And I'm able to do that because JJ cared enough about me to try to help me find someone who could help me. And in doing that, she held my hand, caught some of my tears along the way, and I'm able to walk around today happy and live a happy life because of her, because she got me to somebody who could honestly help me. And that speaks as to who JJ was as a person. If she knew you, she loved you. And it didn't matter where you were from or what you did or anything, she loved you. And she would do anything she could to help you. So while my story is not funny, and I damn sure don't have a rubber chicken up here, I just wanted y'all to know just how much JJ would really put herself out there for the people that she loved and cared about. If she loved you, you were her family, and you knew that. Thank you.
It sounds like we all need chickens, to be honest. Thanks, Ange. You know, one of the things that I appreciated most about JJ was her empathy and her fierce loyalty. She was a fiercely loyal friend. So much so that at the beginning of more than one of my relationships, she may or may not have threatened bodily harm if that person ever hurt me. And I have no doubt that she would have followed through. Next to speak is our dear friend Megan Adams. For a long time, we were 3 peas in a pod, and I know that she certainly has some great stories to tell, and I think she'll pick one or two.
So I'm going to tell you a little story that involves how JJ and I met when she first came to Texas with John. And it's going to be mortifying for me, not for her. So I used to work in the field as a paramedic with all of these wonderful people. I still work for the department, just not as a paramedic anymore. I met John first. We worked on the truck together and immediately bonded because I also grew up in the Chicago suburbs. So we spent a lot of time making jokes about Chicago stuff and talking trash about other people's pizza. I'm not a Bears fan, so unfortunately we couldn't hug and cry about that. I just don't like football. Yes, I am a communist. So obviously JJ and I knew about each other. We just never physically met until, unfortunately, when Peyton passed away. It was a very nice service, and they had a bunch of people over at their house out in Maynard when they lived there. And I was like, this is awkward meeting her this way, but it'll be nice. It'll be nice. It'll be nice to meet her and give her a hug and all that. So, we're all hanging out. It's a great time, having some drinks, making jokes. And I have to use the restroom. So I go to use the downstairs bathroom, and I'm just not paying attention, and I will maintain it till my death that I am not the person who set this in motion. However, I went to the bathroom, very basic trip, and I go to flush the toilet, it immediately floods the bathroom. And I'm like, shit. And I'm like, I don't want to bother John, I don't want to bother JJ. I'm like freaking out, and I'm like, there's nothing in here to fix this or clean it up. So I go running into the kitchen, and I must have looked like completely panicked because one of the medics who no longer works with us, saw me. And apparently John also saw me because he came and helped, and we cleaned things up. And she eventually found out about it, and I think she teased me about it probably at least once a month until I moved back to Illinois after I left the department. And I was like, she's never going to speak to me again because I'm the lady who flooded her downstairs bathroom at her daughter's post-funeral gathering. But that was not the case. JJ and I were very good friends for a very long time. We did lots of things that I probably should not tell you about at this, because I do see there are police here. No, I'm kidding. But we had a great time together, lots of jokes, joking about dumb Chicago stuff, juking together when we felt like it, making jokes about bottles of Bumpies and packs of What I Ams. If you know, you know. And she even came to visit me when she would visit Chicago, and I lived up there for a short while before I couldn't escape this place and came back. And I will also say that I'm not 100% convinced, but I'm fairly sure that I am the reason that JJ and Krista became good friends. I loved her dearly. I am heartbroken that she's gone, but I am very happy that she is back with her little girl that she always missed. So thanks everybody for coming, and I have skills.
So I definitely remember that, and she was mortified. Although, to be fair, Megan is not the only person who had a little bit of a kerfuffle that day at John and JJ's house. As we were bringing in giant trays of food, one of the dogs got out, and I can't remember, I think it was Arrow. I can't remember if it was Arrow or Darby. It was Gus. Oh, it was Gus, see? One of them, they had a herd, bolted out of the front door. So it's me, another colleague, running down the street, chasing this dog in high heels and like a dress, and it was a little windy that day, so things ran their course, and I would apologize to the neighbors, but you know, you guys don't live there anymore. So the next thing that we'd like to do is we have prepared a slideshow that just is going to give you a quick overview of JJ's life, and some of you dorkier folks will recognize one of the songs, and some of you Chicago folks will recognize the other one. So now we're going to switch gears a little bit once again. I am going to introduce one of our retired assistant chiefs from Austin Travis County EMS. His name is Michael Wright, and he's pretty much everything I want to be in a public speaker when I grow up. So take it away.
You need to set your bar a little bit higher. I hope here, if I get anchored behind that podium, nothing's going to happen, right? Are y'all good with that? In the back, can you hear me?
If you can't, move up to the front, all right? So so I was actually out of the country when I got the news about JJ. And that evening, I get a phone call from Krista, and I did not connect the dots. I thought she was calling about something else. And she asked me to speak here, and she was very specific about what she wanted me to talk about. She said, I heard you give a speech at a graduation a couple years ago, and I want you to connect that however you can to JJ's life. And as I kind of thought through that, I thought about this. If JJ could come back for 1 minute and give you instruction, give you one instruction, what would that instruction be? If she could come back at this very moment in your life and give you instruction, what would that instruction be? And I'm going to tell you, I think it's this. Do not confuse your success with your significance. Do not confuse your success with your significance. Success is something that as a matter of fact, when I look across the room, there are so many people here that are successful, and you're successful based on external motivating factors. For example, you promote, that's success. You do well, that's success. You achieve things, you buy things, you obtain things. People give you awards, that's all external success. And our world really right now is geared towards a life of success. For example, consider athletes. I confess I'm a Nolan Ryan fan all day long. I expected an amen right there, but I'm going to say it again. I'm a Nolan Ryan fan. But what is he known for? He's known for his ERA. He's known for his fastball. He's known for all these other things. His hamburger that you can get at the Round Rock Express game. We look at modern day athletes. They're judged based on their OPS, or if they're in the NFL, on their yards after first contact, their quarterback rating. Entertainers are judged based on their last greatest movie, how much the box office grossed. Social media influencers we judge their success by their followers and by how many likes and all this stuff. That's all external. That's all external success. And I'm not against external success. I'm not against that, but I'm going to tell you that I think what JJ would tell you is this, is that you can be successful as long as your goal is to always be significant. You see, you can be successful without having any significance in this world whatsoever. We have heard story after story after story about how she put her life on pause for somebody else. That's having a significant life. There's a story about my daughter that some of you have heard. We were in the process of moving from Georgetown to Liberty Hill. And Connor was going into the 6th grade. And we actually had her in school in Liberty Hill and the other 2 girls in school in Georgetown, because we were in this transitional place, right? And we're moving from one house to the other. And we wanted her to start in Liberty Hill because in Georgetown, 5th grade, you go to middle school. And so we didn't want her to have 1 year to school and then have to transition to another school. We just wanted her to go ahead and start making friends in Liberty Hill. Does that make sense? So one day she comes home, and Connor is just a light. She's just a light. She is. She comes home and says, "Hey, Dad, how are you?" I said, "Man, I'm great." She said, "Hey, I have a letter from the school for you." And my first thought was, honor society so soon? Stuff like that. And it turns out it was from the school nurse. And so I opened the letter, and it says, "Today we had scoliosis testing at school, and your daughter needs to be seen by a pediatric orthopedic surgeon." I said, "Connor, what is this?" She goes, "I don't know. They took us into the gym, and they did all this testing for scoliosis, and they said that I have scoliosis." I said, "That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. You do not have scoliosis. There's not a chance." I said, "What did they do to test this?" She said, "They made me bend over and touch my toes." And? "No, that's it, Dad." "Really?" I'm sitting here looking at you straight as an arrow. And I said, "Okay, so bend over and touch your toes." Oh, my God. And there it was. Plain as day. And that started a 2-year odyssey for us. It began by going to a guy by the name of Dr. Shapiro, who's since retired, but is one of the finest men I've ever known. For all of you here, what impressed me about Dr. Shapiro is he never talked to Christina or me, he always talked to Connor. We were just a sideshow. But he respected her with that. And so it begins with this. She said, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put you in a body brace. And this body brace was from her armpits down to her hips, full around 22 hours a day. Now let me paint a picture for you. A 6th grade girl who is going through some of the life changes, if you know what I mean, say I do, going to a new school in a new town with a body brace on. I don't know about y'all, and I hope I don't offend you, but the meanest generation in this world is middle school girls. That's just the truth. And she's the new kid, and she's got the brace on, and she suffers through this for a year and a half. You know, when all the other girls are wearing these little cute suits and stuff like that, Connor's wearing sweatshirts and sweatpants because she's trying everything she can to hide this brace. We come in one day, and she doesn't have the brace on. What are you doing? She said, I'm done. What do you mean you're done? I'm done. We go back to the doctor. Her curve on the first day we went in was 24 degrees. We went in this time, it was 73 degrees, and it's a three-dimensional S-curve. And he said, it's time to operate. So just to kind of shorten things up, she goes into surgery. Connor was 4'9" going into surgery, 5'1" coming out of surgery. And she approaches everything with I just want to do everything I can do. I don't want to let this limit me. And she goes through a recovery period, and Connor she's lithe. She's thin, she's got legs up to her eyeballs, she's a great runner, and she comes in one day and said, Dad, I want to do cross country. I'm thinking, you had back surgery a year ago. And she goes, I know, but I want to do cross country. And she goes out and she starts training. She's in the high school cross country group, and we start going to her meets and we're watching her meets. Now, when I was going to school, they didn't have cross country. I didn't understand cross country. How many of y'all ever did cross country? I'm curious, cross country. Here's what cross country is. They line 200 kids up along a line, they shoot off a gun, 200 kids run into the brush, and 15 minutes later, 200 kids run out of the brush. That's cross country racing. Okay? That's it. And so I would watch, and I'd watch her take off, and I'd come back around, and she was always like 11th or 12th. And at least back then, 7th and above, so first place through 7th place, they were the ones who got the podium. They're the ones that got to have points to go to district and stuff like that. And she's always like 9, 10, 11, right in there, no matter the race. Like, this is driving me crazy. I mean, you train hard. I watch you do this stuff. I don't understand, and I'm being a dad. And she comes in and says, hey, Dad, this week's meet is in Liberty Hill at the park. I went, bingo, because that means I get to see every square inch of that race. I get to see every foot of this race. And so the cross-country meet is on Saturday. I go on Tuesday, and I find the best spot to sit. Saturday morning comes along. I'm able to pull my truck up. I get my hunting optics out, my Leopold spotting scope, my range-finding binoculars. If you think I'm kidding, you've lost your mind. My wife disowned me that day for about 4 hours. So the race starts. Bam! 200 girls take off running. And I'm watching, and she's pacing like second or third, man. And you can just see it's easy. It's just easy for her. And I'm like, this is it. This is the race. This is the one. And she's running, and then she slows down, and she starts talking to a girl. And she can't hear me, but I'm screaming, what are you doing? What are you? And so she drops back to third, and she keeps on running. She drops back, and she talks to this girl, and then she talks to this girl, and she just keeps running. And I am losing my ever-loving mind because I'm thinking, if you would use your breath for yourself, do that. And so the race finishes. She comes in 11th. And Christina looks at me and goes, how many of y'all know that move from a spouse? What does that mean? Don't you say a word. Don't you say a word. And I'm about to burst. I'm just about to pop. And Connor, she finishes the race, and she's got little hands on her hips like this, and she's not sweating because little girls glisten. And she just, she comes up and she's going, Dad, did you see the race? Did you see the race? I said, I did. I did see the race. I really did. And oh, well, Dad, wasn't it a great race? It was a great race. Connor, why were you talking to those girls? And she said, because they needed encouragement. At that moment, I understood the difference between success and significance. You see, for Connor, JJ, it was never about getting to the finish line first, it was making sure that everybody got to the finish line. It's making sure that no matter what we're doing, is that we are more concerned with the people in our lives than ourselves. We are more concerned with making sure we have an influence in somebody else's life than we are about our own successes and our own trappings. That is the life that JJ lived. She suffered through that tragedy, yet what did she do? She was not considering herself, but she was hoping to make sure that other people learned from that. You see, she understands what it means to be significant in somebody else's life. And so here's what I want you to hear. I don't think it's enough to come in here and just to celebrate JJ's life. That's not enough. If you really, truly want to honor JJ's life, you will make sure that you live a life of significance. There's a story in the Bible, and I think this story applies whether you're a believer or not. It just applies in every realm. Where there was this man who was going to go to battle, and he was told that as long as you keep your arms raised, you will win. As long as you keep the arms raised, you will win. And the battle wages on throughout the day, and I don't know if y'all have ever tried to stand like this for any period of time at all, but that gets hard. And his arms started to fail, and he could no longer keep his arms up. And what happened then, his two closest friends came by and held his arms up for him. That is a life of significance. You know, it's interesting talking to this group because every single one of us has made a career of standing in the gap for those people who dial that phone. That's what we do. We stand in the gap for people who cannot stand in the gap for themselves. Yet I'm going to tell you, and I'm just going to go ahead and go at it head on, we have to stand in the gap for each other. We have to stand in the gap for one another. And here's I'm going to tell you this. It's time for y'all to start being a little bit rude. Don't wait for the invitation. Be significant in somebody else's life. Be intrusive. Be obstinate. Don't take no for an answer. You have to be that kind of friend. You have to be the friend that JJ was, who comes off the floor because she sees that her friend is. You have to be not invited. Correct, Angela? You did not invite her. And intruded on a hard moment for Angela, and look at the result of that. That's the kind of friend we need to be. Here's what I'm saying. We're not here just to celebrate. You have to have an action plan walking out of here. That action plan is you're going to be that friend to the people that you work with, the people that you do life with. As a matter of fact, I want you to turn to the person next to you and say, I'm here for you. Turn to somebody next to you on the other side and say, I'm here for you. Now, I want you guys to pay attention to something. I want you to pay attention to something very quickly. This is very important. Before I did that, y'all's faces are kind of heavy. All right? I'm just being honest. They're kind of heavy. This is a lot. This is a lot. But as soon as somebody said to you, I am here for you, what happened to your face? What happened to your entire visage? What happened at that moment? You smiled, you laughed, your shoulders dropped, just because you know that somebody is standing in the gap for you. If you're going to take one lesson from today, it is simply this. Know that while success is awesome, pursue it all that you want, but your goal should always be to be significant in the people's lives around you. Thank you.
It's pretty clear why he's the closer, right? That's a very difficult act to follow. I'm not really going to try very hard. So at this point, the formal part of our ceremony is over. We are going to have a graveside ceremony